In this video, I'm going to show you how I set up my air filter to turn on when my garage gets too dusty. A new year, a fresh start. Time to do whatever we want, right? So my buddy Wes over at Geeksmithing and I got to talking, and we thought, let's try and build better habits this year. And we could just be supportive friends and encourage each other along the way. But, you know, we also could inject technology and needless gadgets and gizmos in there as well. So obviously that's what we decided to do. The shared premise of the project is that we're both going to use a IoT platform called Node-RED, hosted on a Raspberry Pi, to work as sort of a hub. And then we can use some inexpensive ESP8266 microcontrollers to build out some edge devices that make tracking a little bit easier. Sound complicated? Don't worry. Between our two videos, you should have a great foundation if you want to tackle this project yourself.
It's so dusty in here. I know this can't be good for my health. Sure, I could set up air filtration system, but how would I know when to turn it on?
One of my goals for 2021 was to start taking air quality seriously. And it gets super dusty in here because, if I'm being honest, a lot of the time I just forget to set up my air filter and turn it on. And that's not good because I end up inhaling a lot of dust, which nobody wants that.
For the software side of things, the two main components are going to be Raspberry Pi OS and Node-RED. Both are super easy and are basically one-click installs, but there's full details on how to get everything set up on my website in the link below. For the hardware, I'm using a Raspberry Pi to host everything, a Sonoff 31 smart outlet for toggling the air filter on and off, and a PM 2.5 air sensor from Adafruit to detect how much dust is in the air. So we have to flash some new firmware onto our Sonoff devices. And to do that, we need a few tools. First, the plug, some jumpers, some small screwdrivers, and a soldering iron. And if you have a vise, it'll be helpful. So first we just pop off the end, and then we unscrew these 4 screws that are underneath these little plastic sliders that come right off. And then the whole thing just pulls right apart. It's super easy. Now we can put it in our vise, and we're going to solder jumpering wires onto the end here. And these little terminal pads are super easy to access, and it's really not a big deal at all. When we'll use this in the next step to hook it up to a computer to flash it with some firmware called Tasmodo. Now that we have our jumper wires connected, we can hook it up to our computer using an ftdi board. And this allows us to use a piece of software from the same company that makes Tasmata called Tasmatizer, which will actually flash the device with the software. And then from there, it's just a matter of turning it on, hooking up to its internal Wi-Fi, and adding our home network Wi-Fi credentials so it can connect back to the internet once it's all put back together. Next, you need to install Raspberry Pi using the Raspberry Pi Foundation instructions and Node-RED using Peter Scargill's The Script. Once we have our Node-RED instance configured, we can use the handy drag and drop interface to program it just the way we want. So all of these are little code blocks that you wire up and tell what you want to do. So here I'm setting up the input node to listen for when the MP 2.5 sensor gives us information about the air quality. And I'm going to say if the value that comes in is greater than or equal to my threshold, then send an on signal to the Sonoff switch. So when the dust sensor says it's too dusty, turn on the air filter. But it would be nice if I could also turn it off when it is effective. So now I go in and say, here's the lower threshold, and if it drops below that, turn it off. And I do that by just cloning the outgoing MQTT node. As you can see, the automation flow is really simple. It's just check the value, turn it on, turn it off. The dashboard flow, on the other hand, got a little more complicated, but this is absolutely not necessary. I just wanted a nice pretty view that I can throw up on the TV to see what's going on in the air.
So now that we have everything assembled, I'm going to sand this block of wood without a dust bag or anything, and on the screen I'm going to show the graph so we can see it go up. We'll see the indicator light on, and hopefully you'll be able to see the air filter kick on. Ooh, because I'm not wearing a dust. There you go. After roughly 4 or 5 minutes of sanding, so not very long at all, the dust particle content went through the roof. So now we will just watch as it will come back down. So the fan kicked on as expected, and it should help circulate clean air. So we'll just watch that. So it's been a few minutes and the fan just kicked off. Unfortunately, I stopped recording, so we didn't hear it click off in time, but you can see it winding down right there. And it's been a total of maybe 9 minutes or so. So, I mean, I'm very happy with this. It works exactly like I hoped it would, and I can see it monitoring everything that I want it to be monitoring. So if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when I upload my next video. And be sure to check out Geeksmithing's video over on his channel. There'll be a link in the description and there or wherever they show up. Thanks so much.